and committee this evening. First item is the approval of the agenda. Is there a mover for the agenda? Trustee Locke, second by Trustee Clements. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Are there any declaration of conflicts of interest this evening? None noted. We have no closed session this evening, and we have no presentations and delegations, so that takes us right into items for decision. And the first item tonight is the replacement name for Victoria Harbour Elementary School, and Superintendent Fennison, please.
Thank you very much, and through you, Chair Lloyd, I'd like to invite Principal of Victoria Harbour Elementary School, Brian Jackson, to join me at the table, along with 3 student representatives, one from Victoria Harbour, one from Port McNichol, and one from Ocean.
Okay, thank you. Please join us. And as they're getting set up, we do have regrets this evening from Trustee Annie Chandler and Trustee Dan Schilling and student trustees Twesh and Carly Gardner. So, Superintendent Fennison, will you be starting? Okay, and welcome to the table.
So thank you very much, Chair Lloyd, and through you, the matter before us tonight actually stems back to an arc of 2011. So for the benefit perhaps of those trustees that have joined us since that time, in 2011 there was an arc for the Tay Township schools, and the recommendation coming forward was that as of this June 30th, Wabashine Elementary School and Port McNichol Public School would both close, and we would amalgamate at Victoria Harbour Elementary School. So this matter before us is to look at the renaming of the current Victoria Harbour Elementary School. And I'd like to turn it over to Principal Jackson and his students to take you through the process and rationale as to why they have this matter before you this evening.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the table. I'm glad you could come this evening. It's always nice when we get to see students here. So, Principal Jackson, would you like to start?
Sure.
You don't have to hold it. You should just be able to push it. Then you're good to go.
Is that better?
Yep, that's good.
You don't have to get too close.
Okay. If it would please the chair, I would like to introduce to you, we have Parker Roper, who is representing the students currently from Wabashine Elementary School. We have Mackenzie Smith, who is representing the students who currently attend Victoria Harbour Elementary School. And then we have Patricia Russell, who is here to represent the students of Port McNichol School. All 3 of those students were on the committee that helped rename Victoria Harbour Elementary. So, if we could, I'd like to have the students walk us through the process, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Parker, who's going to talk to us a little bit about why we needed to go through this process in the first place.
Well, we first started off by narrowing the names down, looking them all, and we had 11 people there. So as we narrowed it, I was thinking, this is a good thing we did this, because if we called it Victoria Harbour because they have the most people, everybody would disagree because there's 3 schools. That's why we called it Tay Shores, because Tay Shores we have the shoreline that goes around us all, and we also have Tay. So that's why we chose that one.
Thank you very much.
Did any of you want to add to Parker's comment? No? Okay, Parker, why did we need to choose a new name for Victoria Harbour Elementary?
Well, I think we needed to choose a new name because if we just had all those kids called Victoria Harbour School and we're at Port, they all wouldn't like that. So we had to change it up a bit, and Tay Shores I think is a good name for it because we're not all just called one name. We're all like a family, I would say, together.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Parker. Mackenzie's going to walk us through the process that we went through to choose this name.
So first we had 11 people on the committee. We had a trustee, a principal, 3 students, and 3 parents from each school. And we started with 33 names, and we started to look at the names and the reasoning for the names. we would narrow down names, and finally the next meeting we debated on the names, and we got left with 2 names, Triple Bay Public School, and Tay Shores Public School, and we decided that we like Tay Shores Public School.
Thank you very much. Can I just clarify, was it 33 names you started with or 330?
33.
33, okay. The report says 330, so I thought that was pretty amazing when I read that. So 33 is a much more manageable number, so that sounds better.
So
There was 303 actual submissions, but with 33 names put forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
And finally, we have Patricia, who's going to let us know why we settled on Tay Shores Public School.
I think this name is appropriate and very fitting for the new school that is merging all of the 3 villages' schools together, is because the name has something that all the communities have. They are all in the township of Tay, and all our towns are very fortunate to be on the shoreline. And it is not excluding any of the communities. In conclusion, I think the students from the closing schools, Wabashine and Port Nickel, will feel more included as we are all part of the J-Township. Go TSPS.
So thank you very much. That was a very good presentation. Is there any other comments at this point in time?
I'd just like to commend these 3 young students for not only joining us tonight, having the courage. Parker's happy there's not quite as many people as he thought might be here. So there's a lot, but not as many as I thought. But also, they were very instrumental in the decision making, and along the way there were comments like, well, that's a good name, but there's a lot of other things in Simcoe County that have that name or part of that name. And it didn't really take them a long time to get to the fact that this name they have recommended to you this evening is representative of the 3 schools. And it's a very challenging process that these 3 communities are going through to close 2 small rural schools and bring them into one central location. And I commend them for asking us to move quickly on the naming so that when we do move in September, there's a new identity and the sense of community continues to grow right away. So I would ask for your endorsement of their recommendation this evening.
Director Wallace, please.
To you, Madam Chair, I also would like to take the opportunity to commend each of you this evening, and as well the principal, not only for being to be part of the naming committee, but for all the other things that all 3 of your schools have been involved in that I'm very aware of throughout the entire year, and how you worked very hard at getting to know each other, getting to understand each other's communities so that you're ready to get together and, who said it, to be a family. So thank you very much for all that hard work as well. This is one of the many things that you've done in your journey through the entire year. So thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you. So now I'm going to open up to questions from the trustees that are sitting around the table. And the first question is from Chair of the Board, Trustee Peter Peacock.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. Great presentation. Thank you very much for that. I'm just wondering, I read in the newspaper about a couple of potential names when there was articles around the naming of the school. I'm wondering if somebody could just fill us in on kind of the breakdown of the names. So was there a lot of names that were not people names, but trying to put the township together? Were the majority of them people's names? Or because we don't get a sense of that from the report, so I'm just wondering how we sort of narrowed it down to where we are now.
Principal Jackson, would you like to respond to that one?
Sure. Out of the 303, there was a significant pile that were all related to one name, and it was the name of a person. We did then narrow all of the other names down into piles that were relatively close. For example, if it said Georgian Shores or Georgian Bay, we sort of put them together. And then we had the students and the rest of the committee filter through those names and debate them. But there was a lot related to one particular name.
around this table many times with school namings, and the reality is that students need to feel the connection. And while people's names may be important to older generations, the kids that are going to these schools won't know who those people are. So when you're trying to make a connection for students, to me it only makes sense when you tie the communities together, and I think you've done a great job of that, so thank you.
Superintendent Clements.
Yeah, and through you, Madam Chair, I'm wondering if the students can recall the discussion that did take place about how to perhaps recognize an individual that the community wanted to speak strongly about, because I know you had some ideas about how we could honor that as well. So it looks like Mackenzie's ready to take that on for us.
Okay, please, go ahead, Mackenzie.
We had an idea that a room in the school would be named after Paul Delaney because he was such an amazing teacher that inspired students. So we thought that a part of the school should at least be named after him. So we're deciding to name a room after him in the school.
So thank you very much. That's a great idea. Is there any other questions? Trustee Armstrong, please.
I just want to echo thanks for all your time, your effort to do this task. It can be an honors task to name a school because it's going to be the name of that school probably for more than 50 years or 100 years even. And I just think that bringing the names together though, it's such a wonderful opportunity. I don't know if you've had time or if you've got to the point where picking out the school colors or bringing the school emblems together or a mascot, because that again, that brings those other opportunities to bring them the history of the other schools together into that sort of whole. And I don't know, I just want to say it can be a lot of fun too, but I think if that works still to go forward and certainly let your friends know about that too, because wow, it's such a great opportunity, and you can say you had such a great part in that, and just thank you for your time and for your work on behalf of your classmates too.
Patricia, would you like to speak to that one?
Since we got the name down, and that one was one of the most important in my opinion, we were planning on letting the students have a say and kind of have what school, we had sheets go home recommendations for the school name, and that's how this name came about. But we were going to have the same kind of thing for the students to drop a mascot and find the school colors. So once again, it'd be student oriented.
Super, thank you very much. And I think Trustee Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to the students. I'm so proud of you. Through the whole process, you showed such respect for all the names that were put forward and such passion. And I was so impressed by all of you. And I was so impressed by all of the students who put in nomination forms. And we still have to, Parker, we still have to have a discussion about Titans, and the Giants, yes. We'll have that discussion. We'll have that discussion. Student voice to me and to everyone on the committee was the most important voice in that room. And that's why we chose the name that we did. It was unanimous for the whole group. And although there are certain individuals that were named, it was also noted that we have wonderful, incredible teachers at Simcoe County District School Board. And some people weren't comfortable with recognizing just one when we have some pretty amazing teachers and educators in our system. And the older generation, as Chair Beacock mentioned, it looks at the good old days. These kids are the future. They are so excited. Some of them even drew mascots and had the colors. I mean, it was just, the enthusiasm is contagious. And I am so happy and proud to be part of this process. And I'm so looking forward to that day when I can see all three of you in your new renovated school in Victoria River. And I really want to thank you, and thank you, Mr. Jackson. You have been a star, that petition, so he got over 800 emails. And because it doesn't follow our process, we could not use that petition, as we should not in our process. So he went above and beyond, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, we have exhausted our speakers list, and I just wanted to say a few words. I was the trustee who represented your area prior to this last election, did the boundary changes, and I was the trustee that participated in the ARC that took place. So I just want to tell you how much I like the name that you chose. It is very inclusive and representative of all 3 school communities, because that was a really big concern during the ARC process, that each community had their own identity and their own school and would be amalgamating into one. So I think you've done a stellar job in picking a name that represents the entire community of Tea Township. And I think, you know, I just went through a naming process for the high school in Aurelia, and I do believe students want names that are representative of where the school is located and where they're coming from, and I think your name does that very well. So I'd like to thank all 3 of you for your hard work and all the hard work that's been done by all the students on your committee and at the 3 schools, and in making this transition smooth and inclusive of everyone. So thank you very much. I want to thank you for coming tonight, for taking the time out of your schedule on a lovely night to come here and to speak with all of us. We're very appreciative of that. So on to the next piece of business. We do have a recommendation within this report that the Business and Facilities Standing Committee recommended the board approve the name Tay Shores Public School as the name to replace the current Victoria Harbour Elementary School effective September 1st, 2015, as set out report number BFD1, replacement name for Victoria Harbour Elementary School, dated June 3rd, 2015. Trustee Locke, I assume you'd like to move that.
Yes, please.
And is there a seconder for that? Okay, Trustee Hodgson, that would be great. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So the new name of your school as of September is Tay Shores Public School. I assume you'd like to leave at this point in time and not sit through the rest of the meeting, so thank you very much. The next item on our agenda, it is the attendance area review for New Alcona South Public School, and Superintendent Dance, I believe.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Lloyd, with your permission, I'd like to invite Senior Planner Sandy Clee and Manager of Planning Roman Communities and Cuban to the table. Can you set this up?
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. And through you, Chair, the attendance review in front of you is a result of considerable work on the part of staff and community in coming towards the new attendance area review for New Alcona South Public School. But whenever we create an attendance area review or an attendance area for a new school, we also have to change the attendance areas for the schools that it's being created out of. So this took place, and I'd ask if I could for Senior Planner Clee to talk a little bit about the evolving process, perhaps a little bit about the difference in how this one was done with the consultation and the elements that are in the report. And that should give you an idea of what we're trying to do. Just like the previous report talked about and had student voice, there was a bit of a difference with this, and it contributed to the outcome. So, Senior Planner Clee.
Hi there. Hi. When you open a new school, it's very exciting. It's not like the typical boundary changes or arcs that we have faced. And so we decided to do a new process. So we had all of the floor plans in schools disseminated to the 3 schools involved. We had all the site plans, we had bus maps, so all the information was presented to each school, so they knew exactly who was involved and the area in which we were targeting for the move. There's several areas that you could move, but there was very specific in this case, good geographic boundaries that made sense for both alleviating the pressures at Alcona Glen, which we all know was extremely pressured, as well as Goodfellow. So we sent individual letters homes to those who were affected, as well as a Q&A. So all the questions over 15 years of experience of what you get at a meeting in terms of parents' concerns or students' concerns with transitions, with road crossings, with busing, with bell times, with the grade 7s, are they grandfathered? We know many of those questions. So with the support of our 3 principals, we came up with a really comprehensive Q&A, and that went home with parents. And as a result, the principals were well prepared to answer any questions. They went to their school councils. There was, conversations in the halls. It was all a very much more positive experience in terms of, the theory behind why those boundaries have been changed and why we're selecting those areas. So we really found that the principals being equipped enabled the parents to be much more satisfied and understand the process. When we attended the meeting, we didn't know if we would have anybody because we hadn't received a single call, which is very rare when you do these types of meetings. And we went, and actually there was quite a few people there. And instead of being controversial, which we've had many of those types of meetings where it hasn't been pleasant when you leave that night, they were much more positive. They were focusing on, what types of transition plans can we put into place for the children? Can they have a school council actually developed ahead of time so that within the whole year of next year that school council is preparing for the opening of 2016 to start fundraising for playground equipment, or the first week they'll have pizza day, and so that there's not a miss or a heartbeat that's missed within that process. So the meeting was a much more positive one. There was some that had a few concerns that we had to verify which side of the line they were on or not. And it was actually very pleasant. We then also committed that we would do a follow-up, which we typically have not done in the past. So all of those who were affected were provided the report, as well as information for, if they had to do a deposition, if they were not happy with the resolutions that came. So it's the first time we actually did that type of a process, very specific. And the next process will be a final letter that goes to all those concerns as well, saying that the board has approved it or not, and what the next steps will be from a transition perspective for kids. So it's very similar to how the new Tay Shores Public School did their process, is the same process that they would like to follow next year, and so that letter will say next October we're going to start a first transition meeting. This will include these types of people and carry on. So it's been a much more positive approach with this.
Thank you very much. Superintendent Dance, do you have anything further you wanted to add?
Through you, Chair Lloyd, really we appreciate the new process, the fact that it was proactive on the basis of staff, but it is a situation where we are, in effect, carving out a new area. As you can see from the maps in the program that's the report that's been delivered to you, we think this is the one that makes sense. There are some areas of that may require some explanation. If you have any, we're certainly happy to answer them. But this has been a positive process, and it's one that, as Senior Planner Clea had mentioned, when it's a new school, it's always good news. So we're happy to answer any questions from trustees.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from trustees? Trustee Armstrong, please.
Thank you for you to Superintendent Dance and Manager, please. I have to say too, it was one of the type of evenings that was incredibly proactive and so student-led. Like that was really appreciated, I think, by the families there. That the students they opened the meeting, there's a group of students leaders that were taking turns and introducing various people. So it was really a positive introduction it will be a difficult meeting. And so I think it was well attended, but I just, you knew from the onset that it was a very well-informed community, and I just want to thank Superintendent Legere for those great introductory letters to all the communities involved and the students involved in the transition. And we do have the benefit of time, as mentioned, because to set up the councils, and then they have the naming will be set up, the colors, the emblem, all those things, and ready for the I guess the parade that will happen in the opening day, so in 2016. So I think one concern that came up, and I know the area, it has to do with the 7th line Webster Boulevard or Webster Avenue. It's getting busy down there, and I'm just wondering about the questions came up about the town getting a stoplight. So I don't know if you can comment, although we have no control about that. I just wanted to comment on that progress. Is that something that's agreed to? Are they going to be doing that before the start of school? I know they have it a year, but just wondering the progress on that. And then I just have a question.
Please.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. We have been in discussions for the site plan approval, obviously, for the new school. So as part of those meetings, we've been having very specific conversations about how the 150 students are going to cross the 7th, because currently that road is not being upgraded to urban standards, so it's definitely not a safe passageway at this point. So we're still working through with them whether or not that'll be full set of lights or crossing guard or what that's going to be. And yes, we've been pointing out that September 2016 is when it's required.
Thank you. And you had another comment or question, Trustee Armstrong?
Just to clarify, you're not giving you a time frame of when this could happen. Okay, well, thank you. That's good for me to know, because we'll never see a crossing guard in this fall. No. So anyway, that's a political issue. The other question has to do with Lindgrove and Smith Avenue. Those are the streets that are directly south of like a corner of the area, and they're sort of within walkable distance. I just wanted to get information as to why that remains in its most central boundary.
Through you, Madam Chair. That particular area is currently within the municipal central boundary. There are approximately 40 students that reside there. The current population of municipal central is around 180, so having that particular area transfer into the new Alcona South would not put municipal central in a very good position in terms of population that can sustain multiple grades, single grades, as opposed to splitting them. As well, Alcona South and Alcona Glen has a significant amount of development each still pending to come through. So we're receiving draft plan approvals, we're receiving lots of subdivisions being registered in construction. So we don't want to actually overpopulate either one of those schools. They're going to be at capacity when they open, and then quickly portables will continue.
Thank you. I mean, I guess the other thing too is the timing. Just like any growth in the south of the county, it seems to go in spurts, and then when it comes, it's a flood. So who knows, maybe in 2 years it could be huge development around that area. So because that's really the only way it can go, and I think they do have the water line or whatever the capacity in now. So I thank you for that, and I just want to again thank you for all the time and effort to do these boundaries, and also for the community that I've received no phone calls, no emails, no things. So thank you for that. But that's great, and I know the community's really looking forward to the easement to the other schools that they're going to receive also at the same time. So it's just a wonderful transition.
Okay, is there any other speakers at this point in time with questions? Okay, seeing none, there are 2 recommendations contained in the report. That the Business and Facilities Standing Committee recommend that the board approve the attendance area for the new Alcona South Public School as set out in report number BF D2 Attendance Area Review, New Alcona South Public School, dated June 3rd, 2015. And the second motion, that the Business and Facilities Standing Committee recommend that the board approve the implementation of the attendance areas effective September 2016 as set out in report number BF D2 Attendance Area Review, New Alcona South Public School, dated June 3rd, 2015. Is there a mover for both of those motions? Trustee Armstrong and a seconder. Trustee Hodgson, please. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. flag protocol. Then Superintendent Jeff, please.
Thank you, Chair Lloyd, for you. Chat before you tonight is a brand new policy for the board with respect to flag protocol. And this comes as a result, I think, of some ongoing questions we were receiving at the board about should I fly the flag at half-mast or half-staff or not. And I think this, the new policy provides, not only just with respect to flying flags, but displaying flags, and gives likely some greater clarity around the times when schools and the board itself would expect people to then fly the flag at half-staff, and requirements under Ontario Regulation 298 for displaying flags. And of course, of our discussion at the senior table, I'm not sure we're in compliance with Ontario Regulation 298, which requires both the Canadian flag and the Ontario flag to be displayed in schools. So we'll do what we need to do over the course of the summer to get ourselves compliant for September. So be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions from trustees with respect to this? Trustee De Silva, please.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if there was a teacher, because I've received some calls as well, if there is a teacher that was in the school and is no longer at the school but was transferred and then passed away, can they not raise the flag? Or does it have to be currently in that school?
Superintendent Jess, please.
Thank you. Through you. So just for clarification, so if there's just to make sure that I understand the question, if there was a previous teacher who subsequently passed away, would the school fly the flag then at half-staff?
Or she's no longer there?
Correct. So, for
Not
instance,
because she passed.
I'm talking about a retired teacher, for instance. For example, under this policy, we would not fly the flag at half-staff. So this policy would suggest we fly the flag at half-staff for any current staff or current student that's attending the school. And that's where we've had some discrepancy, I can tell you. So really just trying to standardize across the board in terms of when we would recommend going to half-staff.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, there is a recommendation that in the report that the Business and Facilities Standing Committee recommended the board approve the adoption of policy number 2199, flag protocol, as set out in Appendix A of report number BFD3, new policy number 2199, flag protocol dated June 3rd, 2015. Is there a mover? Okay, Trustee Locke, seconder Trustee De Silva. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So that takes us down to items for information. The first one is contract awards within approved budget. Superintendent Jeffs, please.
Thank you, Chair Lloyd, through you. And tonight you have before you the list of contract awards that have been, contracts that have been recently awarded within approved budget. On the list, oddly enough, for those of you who've gone through it and gone through the specifics, will notice that there was a number of companies that were disqualified on various tenders, and I think in one of the cases, I believe the roofing company was disqualified twice on 2 tenders, and they're actually all disqualified for the same reason, and that reason is that when we issue tenders, we often issue addenda to those tenders, and part of the tender submission process requires signing a form, which is a standard provincial Ontario construction industry form that says we have reviewed the following addenda, and then they have to actually list them 1, 2, 3, however many there as being, and they have to say that the form goes on to say that those addenda are included in our bid tender price, and then it gets signed. And in each of the cases, for the disqualifications and on this month's contract awards, that specific form was not filled out correctly. And it's, as I say, it's not a form that's unique to this school board. It's a provincial-wide form that each of these contractors would be absolutely familiar with. So some of them missed actually filling in the addenda information. Some of them said they'd seen number 1, but there'd actually been 2 or 3 addenda issued. So they get disqualified for those purposes. Other than that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions from trustees? Okay, Okay, I just had a couple of questions, and one was with respect to the work being done, the childcare renovation and masonry restoration at Regent Park Public School. Regent Park is a school that we did, I think, $9 or $10 million worth of renovation to not too long ago. So can someone just explain to me what we're doing at that site?
Thank you. Through you, Chair Lloyd. I will certainly endeavor to find out exactly what's going on, but it is not a major renovation. It is some work to, the masonry, as you mentioned, part of a major renovation, but the whole school was not renewed. But I will make sure I get that information and bring it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Okay, Trustee Aikens?
Thank you, through the chair. What does the net VAT pay
Superintendent Jess, please.
Thank you, and then through you, Chair Lloyd. So net VAT is value-added tax, so it's like the HST. And then the net is the net amount the board pays. As a public sector institution, we're rebated for a portion of that combined tax that we pay. And so what we reflect in the costing is only the amount we pay. So we don't show the gross amount we pay and then the amount we get reimbursed for. We show just the net amount.
Thank you. Any further questions? I just went further to the work that's being done at Orchard Park Public School. I'm pretty sure I know what building envelope upgrades are because we're spending a significant amount of money on them, but I just wanted to clarify exactly what's going to be done at that site as well.
Through you, Chair Lloyd, to answer your question, the building envelope upgrades are ones that they will be, whether it's masonry work, it'll be windows, it'll be soffit and fascia. Those elements are all combined to create a system, and so the improvement of those improves our energy efficiencies.
Okay, thank you very much, because I think that school's about 32 or 33 years old, so before Lions Oval, it was a new school that had been built in a rise, so thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, that report was for information. That moves us on to surplus property update. That's Superintendent Dance, please.
Thank you, and with your permission, I invite Manager Kukin to the table. And as he joins us, what I'd like to do is to just basically go through the report that's here. As trustees know, through our capital planning process, we have made surplus property an element of our capital plan in order to create funds through proceeds of disposition in order to help fund some of our other projects. Now, with the new pupil accommodation review guidelines, which you'll become very familiar with in the next year as we do new policies for that and also community use, we have a situation where the surplus property and the funds from that, what we call POD, proceeds of disposition, will be able to be used in different ways. So the intent of this strategy that we've embarked on is to create funds available for other projects. That will continue to be the case. And as you recall through the capital plan, we have a list of projects going forward. That being said, the amount of work on a big part of the planning department is significant in making sure that we follow all the planning processes, go through the complete listing of the property, making sure that title, deed, the surveys are up to date in order to move towards disposition. If you recall last board meeting, we had one approval for disposition of William B. Wright, as a property that had been surplus to the board for a number of years, and we had not been able to move. But we are being active in this because we see this as being one where we supplement ministry funds with properties that have been determined not to be available or useful for the board in the future. So the report basically goes through that as it outlines what some trustees are more familiar with, Reg 44498, where properties are offered first before we go to the market. And of course, we have to exhaust those opportunities before we do that. And then page 2 outlines the properties when they're deemed surplus, the status that they're at now, and when we believe that we'll be able to complete the disposition. So you can see from the chart, we have a very aggressive platform of disposition of these properties moving forward over the next several years. Some things may take place in the meantime that may change how we dispose of those properties, but I can assure you that the planning staff will be working diligently at this, and we're certainly happy to answer any questions from you at this time about this process.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from staff? Trustee Locke, please, and then Trustee Armstrong.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to Superintendent Dance, PSS, preparing for this position. Are there any conversations about alternate uses for the building, such as on ed, for example?
Superintendent Dance, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, Lloyd, to Trustee Locke. That's certainly an ongoing opportunity. In fact, today, Superintendent Sloan, Superintendent Jeffs, myself are in Penetanguishene meeting with town staff and the political side of the house up in Penetang, just talking about partnership opportunities in general, and it is one that will continue to come forward. When we make a decision to dispose of a property, if another opportunity comes up, it is something we will certainly continue to explore. But I would say that we need to keep in mind the fact that once we start going down the path towards disposition, it's one that we can stop, but we also have to be mindful of being in the public area, being able to be recognized if we make a decision when we follow through on it. So that being said, with this property, we're not looking at any disposition or movement towards that until after the students are out, the high school students are out in June 2016.
Trustee Armstrong, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair, to Superintendent Dance. In regards to negotiations or about disposition of property, or when it is sold or disposed of, I just want to talk about the confidentiality or the names of those companies or those individuals or government entities that buy properties. We don't necessarily publish that. I would think that once it's sold, it gets in the land registry. If somebody wants to find out, they can do that. But certainly during negotiations, again, it's a contractual thing. It's if you're giving us updates, then sometimes they have to be closed session because it's during negotiations. So can you just speak about that? Because quite often somebody will say, well, you had a list and who did you sell it to? Or who's interested? That's the sort of, conversation you may have at times. So just want to talk about that a little bit.
And through you, Chair Lloyd, to Trustee Armstrong, certainly confidentiality is important because in the public environment that we're in, we need to have public confidence in the fact that we are not going to disclose items that may be a competitive advantage or disadvantage to anybody in the same field. And it's one that's critical for confidence in our processes that we keep those in as close a confidence as possible. That is what we intend to do throughout these processes. You are correct. If we had updates, we would bring them closed on any report would be on blue paper to be confidential, and we would hold those as confidential. Also correct, we would not necessarily be able to make statements about anyone who would purchase the properties in public until the deal is completed. And trustees would recognize that when we have had deals in public that have required confidentiality, we hold that nothing will take place until board approval is sought, especially with regard to the value of properties that we see. And we are moving forward as we did with the William B. Wright when it was within appraised value, going ahead with the process. With those other ones, we will be coming back. Those where we were not able to get the appraised value, the current appraised value, then we will be coming back in a closed session to ask for board permission to dispose of those properties.
Trustee Armstrong, please.
And also for clarification, any funds that we receive, the board receives for the sale of these properties, where do those funds go and what can we use them for? Just to clarify.
Thank you, Superintendent Dance.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Lloyd, to Trustee Armstrong. Any of these funds go into what we call the proceeds of disposition fund. They are available for use. Trustees would recall in the capital planning process in the last several iterations, the ministry has allocated what they know to be our proceeds of disposition against capital projects to help get those projects completed. They are looking through the new park guidelines to not count on those proceeds of disposition, which is an interesting development, but it's one that takes the money and says, what they're saying now is take it and use it against renewal projects once the new policy has changed. It doesn't mean they're giving more money, they're saying offset your other costs with proceeds of disposition. That's something that is taking place currently. And so proceeds of disposition is something that the ministry knows how much we have, and we try to make sure that we accumulate enough in order to attach it to projects and get more work done.
Manager Coogan, please.
If I could add to that, and then any costs associated with selling the property, because there are costs, legal, title searches and so on, we can use proceeds of disposition to cover those as well.
Thank you for that information. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. That report was for information as well. That takes us on to correspondence, which we have none. And on other matters, Superintendent Dance does have a video he'd like to show us. They just became aware of yesterday, or that he put together yesterday, I think so.
Thank you, and through your chair, Lloyd. We wanted to share this video, which is a summative task that we had for our technology renewal project. Trustees have supported this project over the last several years, 3.5 years in fact, that we've been doing this project, and which has resulted in state-of-the-art equipment in our schools. No longer do we have lockouts on our equipment, so they're all safe. They're safe for our students, safe for everybody, and the renewal of a number of shops, a large number of shops, and if anybody would like to see the file, I'd be happy to show you how much work has taken place over the last 3.5 years. We enlisted the services of Bob Emtich, a former teacher in our board, who was also former dean, just retired dean of technology at Georgia College, to spearhead this, and Bob did exemplary service for us. The video you're about to see was created by David Fitt, who is now the Program and Innovation Itinerant Resource Teacher in this area. And this video was presented to us as a group, and the group was almost everybody within the board at different times, whether it was design and construction, maintenance, operations, planning, IT, program and innovation, business services. So a very big project, as you'll be able to see. The nice thing about this video and why we wanted to show it to you is it's in student voice again. The students speak about the programs they've been able to take hold of, and you'll see through this the 10 different areas of technological education, and those 10 different areas are all highlighted, and they are all present in our schools right now, and using the equipment that was purchased through this and in brand new facilities. So some of our schools are older, but I can assure you in the technological areas they're state of the art. So hopefully, and we'll be happy to share this video with you, and we're looking to promote this as much as possible so that people understand exactly what we've been up to over the last 3.5 years. The video is taken by the drones that are operated at some of our schools now. We have four drones in 4 different schools in operation right now. Amazing, and so is the video at the beginning of this. The video of the education center is taken by drones that are in the school settings right now. Trustee Wayne would be interested to know that it's not just used for scouting football at Bear Creek.
Thank you. I'm happy to say that New Aurelia High School is now, well, on the outside that's blue is now a nice brick and it looks great. So I'm quite excited that the brick's gone on the building. So any questions with respect to that video? For Superintendent Trustee Beacott, please.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and through you. I wonder if you could explain to us some of the things that we see in these classes, such as chainsaws, outboard engines, and some of those things. If I recall correctly, a lot of that stuff, if not all of it, I believe was donated by companies. But if you could just help us out with some of that, because those items are huge costs. So just so that we know where they came from.
Certainly, and one of the nicest outgrowths of what we've done with the partnerships that are taking place is the linkages with the industries. And you saw a lot of Mercury engines, they're not purchased, they're donated. The Ford Motor Corporation donates those. The chainsaws come from suppliers as well. One of the most notable ones that people have hopefully have heard about is the Buddy Bench program. The Buddy Bench program is going into every one of our elementary schools. The Buddy Benches are a bench that's created so that students who need a buddy go to sit on the bench and then they leave a spot for the other buddy. This program is from the United States originally, but it's come up to our area, and we have 2 partners, Fastenal, who provides the fasteners, and Sawmill Sid, who's a wood reclamation company, who have provided all of the wood for all of those benches, so that our local high schools are providing the benches for the local elementary schools. There's some decoration going on. Just last night, I think it was, the router at Allandale District High School was working overtime, past the time our shops are usually powered up. We had to make an exception so that power could stay on, so the router could finish routering on the Buddy Bench. That's the amount of work that goes on and dedication. And they've been well received at the schools and schoolyards. So that's one example of it. But when you see the healthcare items that are there, those are donated by companies like GE, the partnerships. Honda down in Alliston is certainly a big one. We're still hoping to be able to set up an electric refilling station at Banting Memorial. That's in the plan still. But you're correct to point out the number of partnerships we have across this area. And one of the key elements in this was labor market analysis. We hear all the time about people in trades, and I know that Superintendent Jeffs was speaking about the audit meeting and people in the industry wanting our students to get into these. That's what this was set up to do, was to match our students with the jobs that are in the communities. And we're working towards that. But the labor market analysis says that jobs in the areas of healthcare are ones that are growing. And that's why starting to develop programs like that in different locations in the county are critical for setting up the stage for these students to go forward. So we're looking at matching students to jobs and to future career paths outside of the norm that people would think of. And we're past the post-industrial age. We need to be able to make sure that these students are well prepared. And you can see from the voices of the students, Dave Fitzcity had to coach a few and make sure they have the lines right, but they certainly appreciate it. And I've been able to visit a few. The hospitality of Banting is a wonderful location. That's just one example. I know that the other locations, the morale of the teachers, and one of the key elements in this that's been included is it's been a complete wraparound. It's not just taking the tags off the machines, it's providing the teachers with their course outlines. And because it's easy to go off track and not teach the curriculum, but also give them professional development. And things like lynda.com, which is a database of training book videos, thousands of them, they're being accessed by Simcoe County District School Board teachers all the time. So it's a real wraparound process, not just getting rid of tags, but going all the way around to their training. So we improve their environments. Technically, Auto Shop at Barrie North was our showcase when we first started, but then we continue from there. One of the biggest things that trustees need to realize, though, too, is that we can't do every program in every school. So you'll see that cosmetology will be in some locations and not others, and that we've been working towards setting that up. And Aurelia is the best example right now because of 2 high schools. really a secondary school would not have a cosmetologist lab. Twin Lakes does, but we have a vehicle bus going back and forth between those two schools so students can access the programs in both of them. That's not always a symmetrical situation across all of Simcoe County, but it's one that we're trying to work on so that students have the opportunity for programs in their area as much as possible.
Director Wallace, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just also wanted to indicate that this tech renewal goes along with the other facilities of education that we have in our own communities as well. And as most recently as this morning, we spent the entire morning at Georgian College. And when you look at the programs at Georgian College now, Paul Sadler, Center for Health and Wellness, et cetera, et cetera. I know that one of our trustees who knows that facility quite well. All of those programs at Georgian College, certainly what we're doing in our secondary schools, things lead really nicely into now the facilities that they have, and they are very excited about it. Actually, we showed them this film this morning about them, what they're doing, and how it fits together, and how they can partner with us on many opportunities that they can provide our young people in secondary schools to be over there, to do competitions, to have PD for our teachers, all those kinds of things, so that we're working as education systems. So Lakehead is partnering with us on many opportunities, as well as Georgia. So together, all three areas, and along with York, Laurentian, and the others that are part of the partnership, University Partnership with Georgia, it all makes it seamless for some of our students that are moving on into some of these areas. So, but I just want to thank trustees for your support over the last 3.5 years, almost 4 years, that when we started out on asking through the budget process to put money aside to do this tech renewal, we were able to accomplish it, we were able to complete it, and we will continue, but we were able to get to where we wanted to get to, and that was very nice to have that kind of support over the term of almost 4 years to get this done, because it's so important to finish something that you start. So
Thank you. And I have Trustee Clements, please. No? Okay. Trustee De Silva?
Thank you, through Madam Chair. It's just a comment. When Superintendent Jones and myself were doing our tour, we were able to see some of the computers and stuff, and it was really, really nice to see. And I think it's obvious that it's completed, and hopefully we continue it.
Thank you. Trustee Locke? No? Okay. And Trustee Meyer?
Thank you. Through the chair, I know at North there were some significant renewals done, and all of the students have been really enjoying that, and it's been really beneficial to the program, so thanks. And I also had a question about, at the very end of the video, I think there was mention of green technologies or green infrastructure, something like that. And I was curious, I know at North, and perhaps at other schools, there are some no longer functional greenhouses, and I was wondering if any money was allocated towards renewing those or replacing them or anything of that nature.
And Dan, please.
Thank you. And through you, Chair Lloyd, Trustee Maya, Student Trustee Maya, the situation is that we have to choose the ones that we can do. The greenhouse at North is in a unique location, and it's one that, although it may merit it, it didn't go through in this set of processes. And I know that there was certainly some interest from that school, but it was also making sure that in the case of a Stainer, where we had that program go forward with a brand new green industry, Stainer also doesn't have some of the other technology programs that North has by virtue of size. But it was certainly an intentional decision that would involve staffing and also with the principal and looking at the future direction. It doesn't mean it won't be done in the future, but it wasn't able to be done during that time period.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for the video. Do we have any notices? Okay, sorry. Notices motion for next meeting? No? And then motion to adjourn? Okay, so we were in other matters. Okay, so you have a question for other matters. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to the table. As you know, I've been involved in figure out how very central in the school. And I've been concerned with Southbury School not moving on time and what's going to happen with the kids. And now we know it's being delayed to February 2017, perhaps even later than that. We're still not sure the exact date yet. I've been communicating with Superintendent John Dance, trying to get a handle on the actual incremental cost of, instead of having the school within the school at Innisdale, have it very central and keep that open until the other school is ready. I'm really concerned about the psychological component. I really think it's a big issue here. I think we're underestimating what's going on there. Innisdale would be crowded. A school within a school, it's bad enough perhaps at elementary school, but high school I think it's even worse. We've had this before, I understand, where we had the new Hewitt's Creek School operating as a school within a school at Allandale. And I think it's really important that we get some input from a parent who was actually there. Tonight we actually have with us Tammy Ritchie. She was a parent during that process, and she also works with the school board. So with the commission board, I feel like I have Tammy on the speak perhaps.
I'm sorry, that's out of order, so that can't happen. It's not permissible during the meeting, and unfortunately, I wasn't approached prior to the meeting to discuss it, or I would have provided that advice to you. Thank you for sharing your concerns, but at this point in time, we can't allow it. It's not the process for the board.
So
Excuse me, I'm still speaking.
Sorry.
Okay, so it's not the process, and that's not how it happens. If an individual would like to deputate the board or deputate the committee, they can put in a request to deputate as per a deputation policy. But what you're doing, what you've requested is out of order, not keeping with the bylaws.
Okay, well, sorry about that. Was the first report was my intent, but I do have a case of that. I asked Tammy to write something for me that I could speak to.
I believe if you want to do that and share that with us, I don't see why that's out of order at this point in time. I think it's a matter you can bring forward.
Okay, thank you. So I wasn't sure of the process, so that's why I was prepared for this case. So
I do want to speak to that, though. I think in the future you need to speak to the chairs of the committee who can provide an insight into that prior to the meeting, so we're not put in the situation that we're in tonight, and I'm sorry that you're here and you can't speak. So, we've been fortunate that we're put in this position tonight, but I'm sure if you spoke to Trustee Beacock or to myself prior to the meeting, we could have addressed that with you and made sure you were aware of the bylaws and understood the process.
okay, and I did explain to Tanya that she would not be able to speak. So basically, Tanya is a parent that was involved in that, so she had children in school, and she's also she works for the school as well, so she had a good insight as to what was going on. And I just want to read something that she wrote. I'll read it verbatim because rather than go through it. And basically, it goes as follows. It says, "This system does not work. I can tell you this firsthand as a parent and a clerk steno who sat in front of the 3 schools matched into 2. The school within a school model was subjected to the students to the Allandale Heights location. King Edward was closed with the promise that the Miss Shore, the new Hughes Creek."
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you right now. I don't think this is appropriate as you're referencing the fact that this is an employee of the board. So I'm going to, at this point in time, put an end to this. And I do believe that if the individual wishes to deputate to the board, that's more than fine. But I do believe this is an employee of the board at this point in time, and I think it may possibly put us in a difficult position tonight by bringing this forward. So at this point in time, I'm not going to allow it. I'm going to move it out of order. And there is a process should that individual wish to speak to us as a parent. But I think it's inappropriate as an employee of this board. So at this point in time, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting. Trustee Locke, seconder. Trustee Aikens, all those in favor? Okay, and we are adjourned. Thank you.